So yesterday we took a look at solving triangles using trigonometry, and now we're going to take that concept and we're going to apply it to word problems. Some terms that I want to make sure I clarify with you before we get started, because you will see them in some of your word problems, are angle of elevation and angle of depression. When we talk angle of elevation, we're talking about the angle formed by a horizontal line to a line of sight to a point above. And what that kind of looks like is, say you have a person here and there's a horizontal line here. Their line of sight to, say, something up here is going to be that, this is going to be that angle of elevation. Now, angle of depression, on the other hand, is going to be formed by a horizontal line and a line of sight to a point below. So this would be more the aspect of, now you got this cliff, you got this person standing on the cliff, and there is this line here, and they're looking down to, say, like a boat, if you have, say, water down here. And then what ends up happening is, with this water, let's make it blue, this angle here would be that angle of depression. So that being said, let's go ahead and take a look at a couple of examples. So we have here, given the picture below, find x using trigonometry. So I see here, and I'm going to enlarge what you see. I see this right triangle where this here is 48 degrees and this is 25 feet. And I want to know this, which is basically saying, taking into account current of the river, if I travel in this path, how far am I going to travel to get across the river to the other shore? So I look here and I see that for this angle, this here is my adjacent side, and this here, that makes the other side of the angle, that of what we're looking for, is my hypotenuse. And when I look adjacent over hypotenuse, I know that that's going to be cosine. So I'm going to say that the cosine of 48 degrees is going to be equal to my adjacent side of 25 over my hypotenuse, which is x. Now, to solve this, and you saw some problems similar to this in yesterday's lesson, I have x in the denominator. It can't be in the denominator, so I can't just divide by 25 because that doesn't work, because it's being divided by x, not by 25. So I'm actually going to start by multiplying by x on both sides, which then gives me x times the cosine of 48 degrees equal to 25. Now I want to get that x alone because that's what I'm trying to find. So that means that I am going to divide both sides by the cosine of 48 degrees. And now when I do that, I'm left with x. So before I get started with putting it in the calculator, I want to make sure when I check my mode, I am in degree mode, so that's good. So I'm going to quit that. And now I can go ahead and say 25 divided by, and I'm going to put it in parentheses, the cosine of 48 degrees. And I'm going to close off both my parentheses. And I hit enter, and I get 37.3619375. So I'm going to say that this is equal to 37.4 feet. And that would be my solution. Moving on to another example. We have here that you are 200 yards from a river. So if I walk this way, I'm 200 yards away. Rather than walking directly to the right, which would be, yes, your right, I know it looks down, but to the right, you walk 400 yards along a straight path to the river's edge, which would be this right here. I want to know the acute angle between this path and the river's edge. And because we're here, we're having the river's edge be here because it's parallel to the river's edge. So I've got this angle here that I'm trying to find. And I have this, and I have this, which I see that this 200 yards is going to be opposite the angle, and this 400 yards is my hypotenuse because it's opposite the right angle, which means when I go to make this equation, I have opposite over hypotenuse, which is my sine. So I'm saying that the sine of theta, which you make with a circle and a line through it, is equal to opposite, which is 200 yards over 400 yards. So to solve this, because I need to get theta alone, I'm going to take the inverse sine of 200 over 400, and this should equal my degree of theta. So then if I put this into my calculator, I'm going to do the inverse sine of 200 divided by 400, pulls off the parentheses, hit enter, and I get 30, which tells me that my theta is equal to 30 degrees. This next next problem is something I want you to try. So the video is going to pause itself right now so you can answer this question, and then you can go ahead and press play once you've submitted an answer. Let's try solving this now. I see here I've got an angle of elevation from the view of the person, the surveyor, to the top of the Washington Monument is 78.3 degrees. I see that I have this distance, that I'm 115 feet away from the base, and I see that I want to find the height of the Washington Monument. Well, these numbers, this here is opposite the angle, and this one is adjacent to the angle. So opposite over adjacent, that's tangent. So I'm going to take the tangent of 78.3 degrees, and that's equal to opposite, which I don't know, over adjacent, which is 115. To solve this and get x alone, I need to multiply by 115 on both sides. So to get x, which is going to be in feet, I need to take 115 and I'm going to multiply it by the tangent of 78.3 degrees. And I get 555.3139955. That means that I have 555.3 feet. Your job now is to take a look at these U-Try problems, draw a picture. Obviously you won't be able to submit the picture on Edpuzzle, but draw a picture that will help you then create your equation to find the object from the plane in B and the boat from the base of the cliff in A.